Nathan, maybe I'm just missing something. That last future best practice, we seem to be saying centralized scratch cooking. Is there other future trends? Or are we just focusing on that?
These were the ones that came up. These two were the ones that came up with the team that we had that met. Mm-hmm. Have you come across anything else in any of the literature you've been looking at? Because we would be interested in, obviously, if there's something else out there, investigating.
Well, I don't know. I know I haven't, but I'm just wondering. I mean, are we closing the door of other avenues along the way during the study because we're focusing? Just a question.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. My grandmother for 30 years worked in a high school cafeteria cooking. I mean, from scratch. Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting how we're going back to that
pendulum. Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a great approach. I just wonder if there's other things that I.
So I think that's a great question. So we'll do a little bit of digging and see if maybe there is some other.
Well, I just wonder if there's a way to open the door to anything else that might come up in the study or even come up in the next 5 years. Are we focused on one avenue, I guess?
And are you thinking big picture food service, or are you thinking like when it comes to the cooking part of it?
I don't know if I think whatever
Big.
makes it good for kids and nutritious and.
Is there a question about outsourcing at all?
I don't believe we had one, but we could certainly investigate.
That's probably the other alternative, right? To completely outsource.
Is that something you would all be interested in us exploring?
No.
I don't know.
The one thing that convinced me to allow my children to buy at Parkway was knowing that all of the money that we spent for them to pay for the meals went straight to the food service department itself and covered the wages of the employees. And after I learned that, I told my kids, you're buying your lunch at school. You're not taking your lunch anymore. So for me, it was huge to know that. And that came from a PTO meeting that I had attended. I was also pleased to see how they're getting some of the nutrition into the food that they're making, particularly the brownies. You can put some bean paste in brownies, which it is wonderful, and it tastes, and you have no idea that it's in there, and it's wonderful and it tastes good. I have had occasions to eat lunch with my daughter and my son at elementary school, and I have to say there are a lot of improvements that I think could be made. One of the things is a salad bar. A lot of white lettuce is sitting in the salad bar. It's not the greenery stuff that we get when we go to the Government Relations Committee and we get this beautiful soup and this nice salad.
Questions to ask.
Well, and this has to do with some of the scratch cooking too, and some of that, and if it's cost effective and increasing and participation and some of the stuff. Your very first slide is what was getting me, I think, kind of going about the quality of, is the food that we serve nutritious? And do students find the food to be visually appealing and tasty? And one of the things that they do for their spinach salads is that they just sit them, it's just spinach, baby spinach sitting in a little platform for kindergarten, K through 5th graders to eat. They're not going to eat anything like that. And so...
so you would say, though, that we're on target with these questions?
Yeah,
I mean,
with those targets and with those kinds of questions and the meals being affordable and all that, I think you're right on target.
Okay, great.
Yeah, with a lot of that. And as far as the questions going for paying for the meals, I think is right on target.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
A question that I would put in there. I'm really not so much in favor of outsourcing, but I think it might be helpful to ask some of those districts that do it, how satisfied are you, and your students with that, just so we kind of have a feel. If everybody's just thinks it's the best thing in the world, then we probably ought to look closer at it, but I'm not so sure that it is. But.
Okay.
And maybe should we be looking at those schools that do outsource? What is the quality of the food? What is the cost? What is the satisfaction rate?
Sure.
If we can get that information, that'd be interesting.
Okay.
Is it that much different than our particular situation?
Okay.
I think one of the questions kind of touched on this, but I think with regards to food waste, if we can determine how much food is being wasted, and how that could be addressed more directly. And, you know, I know we've done a lot with the composting and that, but particularly, you know, food waste and, you know, communicating that to, you know, feedback for the students and the parents with regards to.
Continuing on with that food waste is, do the kids eat the food?
Okay.
So you're asking if the students find the food to be visually appealing or tasty. I don't really care about that. I care about if they buy it, are they actually eating it, or are they throwing it away?
After-school events and stuff, we're buying 2 lunches just to hold them over till dinner. And so we're spending twice as much money. So is the serving size applicable for what they need? I mean, I know we're
Okay,
cutting
yes.
down on calories and stuff, but just on some of those kids.
It's a good question, though.
One of the other things that we talked about in another meeting was the idea of swapping recess time and lunchtime. And I was going to do some more research on that, about the idea that when students eat lunch after they do recess, that they tend to eat more than when, and that there is less waste to their food when they're taking their recess time first and then they're eating, because they're hungrier. So then they're eating more, and there is less food waste. So,
Okay.
so that might be something else to
Okay.
add.
So maybe we want to explore locally grown, an effort to increase the locally grown, you know, food purchases. I think we've made a little bit of an effort, but do we need to include that in some way? I
There's
don't
a
know.
couple of school districts are doing that. Out in Rockwood, I think, farmers are delivering directly to food services there.
I think it's worth it to look at.
And maybe just, maybe find out like how interested people are with regards to just food sources in general. And, you know, once again, being able to communicate some of that to parents and students.
You mean like, do they care where it's coming from?
Exactly, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
both locally, whether it's local, whether it's organic, you know, anything like that.
Okay.
One of the things that I didn't see on here was, and I've noticed it on some of the things that we get from the board, is that we do buy food from fast food restaurants, Arby's, Chick-fil-A, places like that. And if that should be a question on one of our guiding questions.
But whether or not we should be serving fast food?
Correct.
Okay.
You break it down by school, though, by grade.
And yeah, and breaking it down by,
Because high schoolers might
School
say,
and
yeah, I'm
grade
in, and
level,
grade schoolers
yeah.
may say, no.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Mhm. Okay.
yeah.
Debbie posed about recess, and I just wonder if there's a bigger issue about and I know Marlene's real active in the wellness work. So what's the connection between some wellness practices and food service? Are we connecting? Because I think that's more the issue of, you know, are we using good knowledge about when it's good for kids to be exercising plus also eating? Perhaps, I don't know if there's
Sure.
connection.
Thank you.
Have times, lunch times on here? I don't know about lunch
I think
times.
we were.
Some
I think
kids
one of the
eat
questions
really-
was, is there enough time for kids to
enough
eat?
time, because
Yeah.
some kids eat lunch really early, depending on.
So we could
what
add that one in. I
school.
don't think we asked specifically time during the day.
I think the time during the day
Okay.
would be an important question to get in there, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for that feedback.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Call for special meeting, there is none. The next anticipated closed session will be held on Wednesday, December 9th, 2015 at 6 p.m. at Central Middle School. Details of the closed session will be posted within 24 hours of the anticipated meeting. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting?
So moved? Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we will adjourn to closed session. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance.